We got Elliot, we got Eric in the building, we got Ken, Kevin, we got Livingston, we got Ray. Royalties are interesting, man, because it starts off slow. Usually, I remember my first royalty check was, I don't know, it was probably like $5.13, but it grows like, and it could jump up out of nowhere. Like it can go from, like, a prime example here, Marks went from $9 to $1,500. So that's crazy. I love to see it though. Let's take some questions, man. Elliot, I know you mentioned you had some questions. Let's bring Elliot up.
How you doing?
What's good, Elliot? What's your question, man?
Not much. Just happy to be diving into sync finally after feel like I've been researching it for like 2-3 years now.
Oh, no, I feel you.
But I had a couple super quick questions that I just want a little bit of clarification on. So
Yeah.
I have about 2 projects that I basically have ready to pitch.
Okay.
And I got a little bit ahead of myself as I was making them, and I had already registered them with my PRO. And in the course, you mentioned that a lot of libraries and stuff will want to register it on their end because they'll want to register themselves as the publisher.
Yep.
How do you go about pitching tracks that have already been registered on your end?
Got you. Is it a specific company you're pitching to, or you're just like starting the pitching process?
No, just as a general, like if I want to start pitching these, but they've already been registered,
yeah.
Is that going to affect anything and how I go through the process?
Not necessarily in that event. So he's asking, like, if I have songs that are already registered with my PRO and I'm starting this pitching process to different publishers, is that going to play a role into how they proceed in moving forward and working with them? So not necessarily, because if those tracks are already registered, one of two things will happen. They will just retitle them and just name them a different title, or they will take the existing title, especially if it's like a non-exclusive deal. They'll take the existing title and then they'll put their publishing company's prefix or suffix on that title so that they can identify the title and be able to collect on the behalf of that title. So, for example, let's say if it's ABC Publishing, right? And the name of your track is Winners. So they'll just go in and put, ABC Winners, you know what I mean? Or they'll just give it a whole new title, register that title, and then boom, put your information and you'll be good to go. So it's not a deal breaker at all.
Okay, awesome. And the other quick question I had was in the metadata section, where if there's multiple composers on a track, you would put both their names obviously in the composer section and both of their info in the comment section. However, in the artist section of the metadata, would you still just keep just your name and let them, the secondary composer, be just in the composer section? Or would you put both your names down in the artist section as well? Or does that really not matter?
It doesn't matter, I guess, unless one of you kind of goes by an artist name, or you can just do ABC featuring DEF. I'm making up letter names today, but like you could do that, or depending on just what you both are cool with. But yeah, no big deal. I think the most important thing is just making sure like that composer info is there and accurate, and splits and stuff is there. Everything else is just however you want that displayed. If it's being credit, like if they're showing like an artist credit, if you want both of your names showing, then you could figure that out. Or if you just want you as the artist name showing, then you would just put that.
Okay. And one more follow-up question. Let's say I was to sign a deal with a 50-50 deal, just for example. Right. And we have 2 composers with our metadata in the comment section.
Yeah.
When, for example, how BMI puts it down as 200%, 100 for the publisher and 100 for the writers. When I'm splitting up the percentages in the metadata, would I then put 50-50 for the 2 composers on there, or would I split it between like 25 and 25 listed and then have the other 50 be for the publisher?
It would be like 50-50 for the composer share. Yeah.
So I'm only really writing about the composer royalties.
Yep. And then publisher takes like the publisher share. Yeah, that's always weird because BMI, they kind of operate off the like 200% pie thing, and then you have I think ASCAP and CSAC kind of do the 100%. So like the full writer side on CSAC would say 50, and then the publisher would say 50, but it equals 100. But it's the same. It's so weird, but it's the same thing, except BMI it's 100 on the writer side, and it's 100 on publishing. So yeah, that can be confusing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem, man. We got Ken. Let's see what Ken. Today's video is brought to you by TV Placement Mastery. This is my high-level coaching program for producers to fast-track you to your first licensing deal within 90 days. Now, this is an invite-only program, so you have to apply, and I only work with a few producers at a time. So just go to tvplacementmastery.com or click the link in the description to apply. There we go. What's up, Ken? Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, what's good, Clint?
What's up, man?
So my question, which I kind of hate to admit because I've been doing this thing for a while, but mixes, I'm still taking them to the car, man. And I'm trying to figure out, what you've done, what other people have done to kind of have confidence in your room, and, not have to do that, especially it's cold outside. So I really don't want to do it this time of year.
It's too cold to be running back and forth to the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what, man? Mixing, it was one of those things where I don't remember when my mixes, quote unquote, got good. It was just like, just keep practicing and working. And then eventually I stopped getting feedback to fix my mixes. So I was like, oh, I guess they're better now. I wasn't really actively paying attention to what I was doing and when that switch kind of flipped for me. But what I will say is that I just kept studying mixing techniques and just comparing tracks that were already mixed and mastered. So for example, I would compare my final mix with a song that was already released and professionally mixed and mastered, or I would go to a publisher's website, say bmgproductionmusic.com, and like listen to their music, because I know, okay, if they sign this and I know that they're mixing and mastering their stuff, then it's an acceptable level and volume and things like that. So I would just kind of compare mixes back and forth until I felt like mine was competitive. I think the first step is just having a decent room set up and a solid pair of monitors. What are you mixing on currently?
I've got have the Yamaha HS7s.
Okay.
And then I have the JBL 44 something. I can't remember.
Nice. So yeah, I think you can get those are transparent enough and flat enough, to get you, some solid references. And then after a while, you kind of get to the point to where, if they sound good on there, they're going to usually translate well in the car. And then after a while, like I just stop kind of doing the car mixes. Like I'll listen, like if I just want to hear the track. But now it's at a point, like, especially once you learn your room and your monitors and you just know like where everything is sonically, I know like once I get it where I need it here, it usually translates well across the different devices and settings.
So you didn't use an analyzer or a tuner or anything for your room?
No tuner. Now I am using it's like the Arc Studio. It's like a room correction thing. And it took out like a little bit of like I think it was like some low mids or something like that. But it was about it. Like, honestly, it was still the way I kind of have things set up. It was a pretty flat mix. But yeah, I don't use too much. I will, like on my mastering chain, I do have like meters and stuff like that just to see where things are across the EQ spectrum and making sure like there's a balance there. But that's pretty much it. Just making sure it's not super duper heavy on the low end or super duper heavy on the high, but kind of making sure there's enough balance, carving out any low end frequencies that's not a kick or a bass, and just leaving room for those to just live in those low end frequencies, and then just kind of going from there. If I need to carve out some high end frequencies on some of the other things that just don't need to be there, I'll do that as well to kind of keep things clean and in their own space.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. Mixing is crazy. And I feel like I still don't feel like I have like the best mixes. You know what I mean? Like I go back and listen to some tracks just from, past year or so. And I'm like, I think that could be a little better. I didn't really like the way that was hitting. So it's like a constant tweaking kind of thing.